Mark and Timothy got home and Mark was so impatient on meeting his dad because he needed to discuss with him as he really wants to know what happened before the accident and he wanted to find out the lady he always saw in his dreams and the dark images he had each time he tried to remember. Deep down in his heart he knew he needed to know the truth about the accident, which almost cost his life. He walked into the sitting room and saw his dad resting and he greeted him. "Greetings, my king," Mark said with a smile on his face. "My most lovely son, the son after my own heart, I see you're looking more gladdened. It's been long I saw you like this since the incident that happened." His father responded, "Dad, that's true. I found my happiness in Mama Jude's house. I went there and she lightened my mood." Mark said, "Wow, that's great. Mama Jude is a nice person indeed. She can come continue working in the palace since she can't work for you anymore. At least that way you get to see her often and she'd continue to make you happy." The king said as he grinned. "No, Dad, just let her rest. She's been through a lot," Mark said. "I want to find out something from you." "What, my son?" the king asked. "Dad, the accident that almost cost my life. I want to know about it," Mark said. "But my son, you promised never to ask about it again," the king said. "Yes, Dad, but it's very important that I know. I want to know," Mark said. His father was taken aback by Mark's urgency because for a long time he hasn't asked. "What do you want to know, son?" "Everything. What happened? How did I survive? And why can't I remember anything? What happened before? Did I have a girlfriend or was I married?" Mark said, as he leaned forward, his eyes locked on his father's. "Mark, you were in a terrible car accident. You suffered severe head injuries and were in a coma for weeks, and what happened before the accident, I don't really know because I don't follow you around, so I can't tell if you have a girlfriend or not, as you didn't bring any home," his father said as he sighed while rubbing his temples. "But Dad, you said I dated but the girl left me and ran away after she saw my condition. You said she left because she thought I would never walk again when I wake up from the coma," Mark asked, surprised, as his eyes widened. "Oh, my son, is that what I told you? You know all these things with old age, that's really what happened," his father said. "There are two versions of the story. Which should I believe now? Why do I feel you're lying to me?" Mark asked confusedly. "What about the woman? The one I keep seeing in my dreams?" Mark asked, his voice shaking. His father's expression changed. A hint of unease was written all over his face. "What woman, Mark? Don't pretend you don't know, Dad. I've told you about her so many times. The woman I see images of when I try to recall what happened to me, although her face is always vague each time I see her," Mark responded. "Mark, I think you need to focus on your recovery and on staying happy. Forget everything and move on," his father said as he twirled his eyes away from looking with Mark's eyes. "Father, no. I need the truth. What are you hiding from me?" Mark said as his anger began. "Nothing, but you can believe anything you chose to. I'm old and with gray hairs and can barely remember. If you're young and can't remember, is it my fault?" his father asked. "Dad, what do you mean? Are you trying to make me feel bad for having an accident I didn't cause?" "Dad, this is enough proof that you're hiding something and I must uncover it, no matter what," Mark retorted, this time without controlling his emotions. "I dare you to. I am the king of Odudu Kingdom and I'll do everything to keep you away from the things that will destroy your reputation and my reputation. Forget about your past life. But always remember you're a royal blood. Get another wife and start a new life. You need an heir," the king responded angrily while slamming his chair. Timothy, please, let's leave here. There's nothing good about this house and everyone in it is just the same as the aura. I can't stand it," Mark continued. The room fell silent, and there was tension in the room. as Mark stood up to leave. Suddenly, Mark's father stood up, his face pale, and he sighed deeply and tapped his head thrice. "Wait, my son, I'll tell you everything. But not now. Not here," his father said. "Father, where, then? I won't sit here one more minute to hear you say you did the things you did to protect me," Mark responded. "Come with me, my son," his father said and sighed. Mark's heart pounded in anticipation. He was very eager to hear what his father had to tell him. The king's heart raced, however, in fear of how his son would embrace the truth. His legs trembled as he took his son to his private living room. "My son, you can sit. Whatever I'm about to tell you now, just know I did everything for your own good. I was only trying to protect you," the king said in a shaky voice. "Father, go on, I'm all ears," Mark sharply cut in. "Okay, my son, 22 years ago, you met a very beautiful lady and you both fell in love. You began spending time with her, until one day you brought her home to introduce her to us. When I saw her, I liked her, because she's a very pretty lady. I asked of her parents and you said her dad is late, and her mother works for people in their house and farms to feed her daughter," the king said. "Because of her social status, I immediately changed my mind about her. Her family has no repute and she's from a very low class. I couldn't stop that law to accepting her," the king continued. "What, Dad? What do you mean? You rejected a girl I loved, because of class? That's very evil, Father. With what you're saying, Father, she's a girl I love and you put your reputation first. You didn't think of me," Mark cut in, disappointed at his father. "You didn't approve of our family background. That's why you kept us apart. You're so selfish and very self-centered. I thought you always put me first, Dad," Mark continued. "Yes, my son, you're my son and I'll always put you first. It's in a bid to protect you that I made the decision to keep her away. As the king, I must consider the reputation of our family and your reputation as a royal blood. I couldn't allow you to marry someone from a lower social class," Mark's father said unapologetically. "Whatever I did is what I thought was best for you, Mark. And for our family. I did it to protect you," his father added in a firm but calm voice. "Protect me from what? From what, Dad?" Mark angrily asked. "Don't you know, my son, that poverty is a disease? Do you want to bring in that plague to my home? I wouldn't be alive and watch my son bring in a deadly plague. Poverty is a disease. I protected you from it," Mark's father retorted back. "If you had married that low-class girl, by now all our wealth would have gone. She'd have inflicted her disease on you. But I kept that from happening. You should be grateful, son," Mark's father continued. "Grateful? Grateful to what? To who? For what? For keeping me away from the person I love. Dad, I demand to know who this lady is. I know she'd be married now with children, but even so I'd like to apologize to her for your evil deeds," Mark said in a rude tone. "Dad, the accident, it was because of you, wasn't it? You caused it. Father, you pushed me to an accident that almost cost my life. Oh my God. Dad, why? And why can't my memory still recall a thing?" Mark said with tears welling in his eyes. "My son, listens. I never meant for you to get hurt. I was trying to protect our family's reputation. I can't tell you the girl's name, I can't remember her name, it's been ages. You'd have to remember her on your own or forget about her forever," Mark's father said. "About the accident, it happened as a result of your carelessness. I only banned you from seeing that girl of low repute, but you disobeyed me. You went to drink and you became drunk, and you drove drunkenly to see that girl. It was on your way home in your drunk state that you had that accident. If only you listened to me, my son, you'd have never been indulged in an accident. But your life was spared and I'm grateful to God," Mark's father continued as he locked eyes with Mark. "Protect our family's reputation. At the cost of my happiness. At the cost of my life. You pushed me to drink it because of your selfishness, Dad. Forgive me, Mark, my son. I thought I was doing what was best. I thought that was the best way of keeping you away from poverty. Dad, please spare me that. Now what of the girl? Did she not ask after me? Why didn't she come looking for me after the accident, and why has she not come back to check on me all these years? Mark asked curiously. Mark's father hesitated before responding. He looked at Mark for some seconds and continued. My son, I'm truly sorry. She did come and I told her you died after the accident. I took her to the backyard and showed her a fake grave. She cried so much and almost killed herself. But I think she later moved on with her life. I am so sorry, Mark. No. No. Dad, no. How could you? This is very evil, and this is the greatest height of wickedness. A girl I was going to marry, Dad. Why? Dad, why? Mark said with his voice trembling in and his eyes filled with tears. So, you sent me abroad to suppress this secret. Mark continued. I need to find her, Dad. I need to make things right. If not, I'll live in guilt for the rest of my life. Mark said, feeling guilty and remorseful. My son, what if she's married? Because no woman will stay waiting for a dead man to come marry her. I'm sure she has moved on with her life. You have to do the same. No, father. No, I will not. And did you just call me a dead man? I'm alive, and that's why I will not sit here and fold my hands after learning the truth about my past life. I would go in search of her. It doesn't matter if she's married. I just need to apologize to her. I'm leaving this place right now, because I can stand you, wicked old man. Mark retorted as he left the room. My son, you should be very grateful to me for protecting, but no, you're an ungrateful son. Whatever finding that girl leads you into, I'd not care about the outcome. Mark's father screamed into distance. Mark went into his room and kept pondering on everything his father told him. He tried to remember every single event, but he couldn't, and he wailed like a child. He thought to himself, if he went deep into the relationship with whoever the woman is, he thought if they ever got intimate. He couldn't stop thinking throughout the night of his lost love. He wished that the next morning his father would bring her to him, and he silently hoped she had not married yet. 3 days later, early in the morning, Mark jolted up from his bed and called Timothy to accompany him to Mama Jude's place. He was already off looking for the lady his dad spoke about in the kingdom, but couldn't find her. He was so depressed and needed a place to make him happy. Timothy came dressed, and he also dressed up, and they left to visit Mama Jude. On getting to Mama Jude's place, Mark and Timothy saw Justin and Justina and admired them so much, they couldn't take their eyes off them, and Timothy couldn't get over the resemblance of these children to his friend, Mark. Mama Jude was very happy to see her boss, Mr. Mark, while her daughter Jude was in anticipation for the completion of Mark's story. And her heart itched to know the truth and to tell Mark about their children. Timothy, tell me. Tell me, Tim, what do I do? I'm very confused. How do I begin to search for a woman I don't remember, and a woman I don't even know her family or her name? I am very angry at my father for what he did, but I'll still try to forgive him. Mark said as his voice trembled. Mark, this is the time for you to try your best to remember. Don't force it so it doesn't affect you negatively. Timothy added. How? But how? Mark exclaimed. Welcome. My sons, you're highly welcome, Mr. Mark. You look worried. I hope you're okay. Mama Jude said in excitement as soon as they entered her home. Welcome, sir. Justin and Justina chorused as they stood up to leave the sitting room. Mama Jude, your grandchildren are very cute and smart. Mark said. They surely inherited it from you, he added. No, I think they got it from their mom and a little bit from their dad. Mama Jude responded. Very true, Mama, they are very smart. Timothy added. Mama, who's their dad? I've never seen him since I started visiting. Mark asked, concerned. Oh, their dad. He's late. Jude cuts in and she came into the sitting room. Oh my God, such cute children, may his soul rest in peace. Mark said. Mark, please, can you continue the story of the accident that you said almost cost you your life, and can you now remember things clearly? Jude asked in a very curious manner. I'll continue the story, but in a brief and summarized way. And for now, my memory is still vague. Mark said reluctantly. My son, if you don't feel like continuing the story, you can leave it. I can see you're very worked out and it's as if you've been overthinking. Mama, Jude said while staring at Mark. No, Mama, he's not complaining, he'll continue. Jude said as she locked eyes with her mother. Okay Jude, the story is long, but like I said, I'll summarize it up. It happened 22 years ago when I fell in love with a girl, and my dad, because of the social status of the girl, told me to stay away from her, but I was too in love with her that I neglected his advice. I went after her one day, and I was drunk on that day. On my way back home I had an accident which almost cost me my life, but I survived. However, I lost my memory, which the doctors said is temporary and would heal one day. Mark said with a shaky voice. So, the girl, what happened to her? What did she do after the accident, and did she know of the reason why you had the accident? Jude asked with trembling voice. I'm not sure she knew of the reason, but my dad told her I had died, and she must have moved on with her life or probably remarried. I can't tell. Mark said heartbrokenly. But do you still love her? Jude said. I think I still do, but I don't know. I only know that I have a longing to fill the void in my heart, but if she's married, I'd accept my fate and move on with my own life as well, but I silently pray that she is not yet married. Maybe we can make amends. Mark said, this time with tears filled in his eyes. Your dad is very wicked and very evil. How could he do that to a young girl? What was her offense? Loving his son. Jude said amidst tears. She stood and left. Mama, Jude, why is Jude in tears? Is it because of the story she just heard? Is the story that emotional? Timothy asked, concerned. Mama, Jude immediately went after Jude to console her, as she was the only one who knew why Jude was crying. But Jude seemed uncontrollable, and Mark walked in on them and overheard her mention he is the father of her children. He had a feeling of mixed emotions which triggered his memory, and he instantly remembered everything that happened before his accident and after the accident. Mama, please no. How do I stop crying, Mama? How? So, Mark's father did this evil act to keep him from marrying me. Because we are poor. Mama, the king is a very wicked man. Jude said with a shaky voice, and eyes welled up in tears. Jude, my daughter, it's not Mark's fault. That's how the rich behave. They only think of their wealth and their legacy. I am also very unhappy about this situation. I worked as a nanny for my grandchildren's father. I helped him take care of children that is not his blood, while his own children stayed at home lacking love, because we had to work all day and night to put food in the table. It is unforgivable, but we have to try. Mama, Jude said while sobbing profusely. Mama, how? How do I forgive Mark's father? Because it is with him that my anger lies. He made me stay for 22 years without a man, and he robbed my children of their father's love for 21 years. Jude said, and she sobbed uncontrollably. Who robbed who of what? I don't understand. Can someone explain what is going on here? Mark said in a state of confusion. Who asked you to come here, Mr. Mark? Mama, Jude responded in shock. No, Mama, you need to tell me. I need to know why Jude is crying uncontrollably, and what did I hear about her children's dad leaving her for 21 years? How could he? He deserves to be punished. Mark said angrily. Punished? A man who I thought was dead all these years. Jude retorted. I don't understand, Jude, Mark said confusedly. Mark, you're the father of my children. Yes, And you deserve that punishment you think another man deserves, but your father Mark, he deserves to die. No, wait. This can't be. No. Who told you? This can't be. Oh my God, my head. The next morning, Mark woke up in his room and saw Timothy and his dad by the side of his bed. Dad, why did you do this to me? I can now remember everything. My nanny all these years is the mother of Jude, whom I fell in love. How do I face her? I made to clean and care for children who want hers, and I showered them with love, while my own children stayed under her roof and suffered. Would they ever find it in their hearts to forgive me? Dad, why me? Mark said in tears. I'm very sorry, my son. I wish I could turn the hands of time. If I could, I would do it. I have made my mistakes because I thought that's what's best for you. I wish I could correct my mistakes, but I can't, but there's room for me to amend it. We'd go to Jude's family and beg them for forgiveness, and you marry her rightfully, if she still wants to marry you, and we'd acknowledge her children as part of the royal family, as they also have the royal blood. Mark's father said in a gentle voice and in a consoling way. Yes, we need to see them and ask for forgiveness, and pray they forgive us because this is a heinous act. Timothy said, concerned about the situation. Let's go immediately, Dad. The more time we let slide, the more it's becoming later to attend to this issue. Mark said with shaky voice. The king, Mark and Timothy all left for Mama Jude's compound to ask for forgiveness and to reunite with them. They left alongside Samson, who couldn't be left behind. And back at Mama Jude's house, they already told Justin and Justina about Mark being their father. Why are you all here? Please leave this place, people of the high class. Jude screamed angrily. I'm so sorry, Jude, my daughter. I was just driven by the love of a father for his son. Any father in my shoes would do the same thing. When I lied to you, I didn't know you were pregnant with twins for my son. If I had known, I'd have told my son, your children are royal blood and rightful heir. Jude's father said with a little bit of remorse. What's going on? Mama Jude asked. I worked for years for you, Mr. Mark, without knowing you were the father of my grandchildren. This is very pathetic. Forgive me, Mama Jude. Forgive me, Jude. I am so sorry. My dad causes all these things, but he's ready to make amends in same way I'm ready to make amends well. Mark said very sadly. I have forgiven you, my son, and my daughter too has forgiven you and your father. But your family needs to make amends, too. Justin and Justina ran out to see what's happening, and Jude introduces them to their father. They were very surprised but now very happy that there's someone to help them pay up their tuition, because their mother couldn't afford it. My children, meet your father, Jude said, and she looks away. Out, father. They both chorused. Yes, my children, Mama Jude responded. He's your father and he's here now to take care of you alongside your stepbrother whom I nursed from infant age. Mama Jude said. Justin and Justina hugged their dad tightly and welcomed him. For the first time in their life they had someone to call a father. Welcome home, Dad, they both chorused. We are very happy to have you around. Henceforth no one would laugh at us for not having a father, Justin added. I'm very sorry, Mama Jude and Jude, for all the atrocities I committed against your family. I am sorry I kept my son away from you for 21 years. Find it in your heart to forgive me, and he's here now and he must play his role as a father and that of a husband if need be. As the king of Odudu, I officially acknowledge Justin and Justina as my grandchildren and name them the royal blood. We've forgiven you, but you have to make amends and make up for the past years. Mama Jude said. If my mother has forgiven, I have to, and as such I have forgiven you. Make amends like my mother said. Jude added. I won't go back on my words, the king said. Mark bent on one knee and her children smiling. Will you marry me? Mark said in an emotional. Yes, I will, I have waited 22 years of my life for this day. Even though I was told you had died, my heart silently believed you were still alive," Jude said with teary eyes. Mark and Jude later got married and reunited as family, and Jude adopted Samson as her son after her mother advised her to. Since Mama Jude nursed him from childhood, it was easy to take him in. The couple sent their 3 children, the twins and Samson, abroad for studies. They rebuilt their lives. The king learnt valuable lessons but later died without regrets. Love and forgiveness triumphed and they lived very happily. Thanks a million times for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be notified whenever we post new video. See you in our next video.